What if the most fundamental advice you've received about life, success, and happiness is not just difficult, but is actually a brilliantly designed trap? We are taught from a very young age that life is a serious struggle, a test we must pass, and that the key to winning is to build a stronger, smarter, more resilient self to fortify the ego, that central voice in your head that says, "I am me," and to protect it from all of life's blows. We are told that you cannot change human nature overnight, and that asking a person to give up their ego, to transcend that selfish, separate sense of self, is the most difficult task imaginable. This sets you up for a lifetime of exhausting internal warfare, a constant battle where you are both the soldier and the enemy. But what if the reason this battle feels so utterly impossible, so fundamentally unwinnable, is not because you are too weak, but because the enemy you've been fighting is a phantom? What if the ego, as a separate, solid thing you possess, is the most convincing illusion you've ever believed in? The brilliant and liberating work of philosopher Alan Watts shatters this illusion, proposing a radical idea. You cannot defeat the ego because it doesn't exist in the way you think it does. Trying to use your ego to get rid of your ego is like trying to use a flame to extinguish a fire or a wave to calm the ocean. It's a game the mind has rigged so that you will never ever win, keeping you perpetually striving, perpetually anxious, and perpetually feeling like you are not enough. Watts offers the key to a different kind of freedom, one that doesn't require more struggle, but less. He invites us to see all of existence as the most profound and sacred game, a cosmic game of hide and seek where the universe forgets it is the universe just for the joy of remembering. But there is one catastrophic problem, one glitch in this divine simulation that causes all of our human suffering. You became so captivated by your role, so convinced by the drama, the tragedies, and the triumphs, that you forgot you ever agreed to play. You forgot the stage was a stage. You forgot the script was a script, and you mistook the character you were playing for your entire unchangeable identity. You forgot it was all just a game, and that simple forgetfulness is the source of every ounce of anxiety, stress, and feeling of lack you have ever experienced. This profound forgetfulness, this amnesia of your own divine role in this cosmic play is not a passive accident. It is the very engine that drives the entire human experience of suffering, fueling the relentless daily rush, the underlying and gnawing anxieties, the constant frustrations of falling short, and that perpetual, haunting feeling that you are behind, that something crucial is missing, or that there is something fundamentally flawed and broken at the very core of who you are. We spend our lives trying to fix this perceived flaw, to fill this invisible void, seeking solutions in achievements, relationships, and possessions, never realizing that we are trying to solve a problem that is itself the intended feature of the game. But beneath the surface of all these worries, buried under layers of conditioning and fear, lies a deeply unsettling and transformative truth that, if you allow yourself to truly feel it, can shatter the illusion and change everything you think you know about your life. On some primordial, profound level of your being, before time began and before you took your first breath, you accepted this. You chose to be here. You raised your hand and consented to the terms and conditions of human existence. Before you took on this name, this body, this history, and this story, you sat down with the universe and consciously, willingly consented to feel the full, breathtaking, and often terrifying spectrum of raw human experience. You chose the searing, gut-wrenching pain of loss because you wanted to understand the true staggering depth of connection and love. You chose the chilling, isolating emptiness of loneliness to fully appreciate the radiant, healing warmth of communion and belonging. And you chose the gripping, paralyzing clutch of fear and uncertainty to discover the authentic nature of courage, which can only be found on the other side of terror. As absurd, counterintuitive, and even offensive as this may seem from within the struggle of a bad day, a painful loss, or a deep depression, This is the core of Alan Watts's most provocative and liberating invitation. He reframed life not as a stern test administered by a judgmental God, a test you can tragically fail, but as a grand improvisational theatrical production, a play where you are not merely a passive spectator critiquing the performance, but the main actor who, in a moment of divine creativity, helped write the script, designed the sets, and chose the costumes. The ultimate tragedy, therefore, is not that you feel pain, it's that you've completely forgotten that the pain is a crucial part of the plot. The chaos is a designed part of the scenery, and the crisis is just a particularly tense and dramatic scene, a temporary twist meant to evoke passion and growth, not the final catastrophic ending of your entire story. You are not a victim of this plot, you are its co-author, and remembering that changes everything.
We have been conditioned to believe that courage is about fighting our circumstances, fighting our enemies, fighting our flaws, fighting for what we want. We see life as a battlefield and we armor up daily, preparing for combat against everything that frightens us or stands in our way. But what if this entire paradigm is backwards? What if true courage isn't found in the strength to fight, but in the revolutionary strength to finally lay down your weapons? Alan Watts introduces here the most radical and counterintuitive form of bravery imaginable: metaphysical courage, the courage to stop fighting yourself. This isn't passive surrender, it's an active, conscious, and profoundly wise choice to cease the civil war within your own being. Imagine your consciousness as a vast open sky, limitless, clear, and inherently peaceful. Your thoughts, your emotions, your fears, these are not the sky itself. They are weather patterns passing through. A storm of anxiety, a gust of anger, a cold front of sorrow. Our instinct is to become a meteorologist trapped in the storm, desperately trying to control the weather, to stop the rain, to argue with the wind. We exhaust ourselves trying to manage conditions that are, by their very nature, temporary and impersonal. Metaphysical courage is the moment you stop being the frantic weather technician and instead remember that you are the sky. You are the silent, spacious awareness that holds the weather. You don't need to stop the storm, you only need to rediscover your identity as the vastness that the storm moves through. This courage asks one simple, terrifying, and liberating question. What if the way out of the pain is not through struggle, but through total, unconditional acceptance? It is the courage to look directly at your fear, not as an enemy to be defeated, but as a sensation to be felt. To greet your anxiety with curiosity instead of contempt. To sit with your loneliness without immediately reaching for a distraction. This is what the ancient samurai sought, not the absence of fear, but a presence so full and complete that fear could not command them. They called it the immovable mind. Not a rigid mind, but a mind like water, fluid, adaptable, and unbreakable. When you stop fighting what is, you are no longer a prisoner of your own reactions. The fear may still come, but it is a wave that rises and falls within your ocean. It does not define the depths of who you are. The pain may still visit, but it is a guest that moves through the house of your body. It does not become the landlord. This is the ultimate hack to the game. You win by stopping the fight. You reclaim your power not through resistance, but through a profound and peaceful embrace of the entire messy, beautiful, and temporary human experience.
Let's pull back the curtain on what may be the most sophisticated psychological trap ever created. One you've been living in since you learned to anticipate tomorrow. This isn't ordinary concern. This is the prison of perpetual worry. An elaborate construct built from your own neural pathways, fortified by society's expectations, and guarded by the terrifying prospect of what might happen if you ever truly relaxed your vigilance. The architecture of this prison is so subtle that you've mistaken its walls for the boundaries of responsible adulthood, its bars for the necessary structures of a well-ordered mind.
You've been running on what I call the hamster wheel of hypotheticals, a relentless mental treadmill where you exhaust yourself solving problems that don't yet exist, preparing for disasters that may never come, and rehearsing conversations that will never happen. The cruel genius of this system is its infinite scalability. Solve one problem and two more emerge like Hydra heads. Secure your finances and your anxiety seamlessly transfers to your health. Get a clean bill of health and the worry instantly morphs into relationship anxieties. Achieve relationship stability and suddenly your purpose in life becomes the new emergency. This creates the profound existential exhaustion of believing peace exists only in some future moment you can never quite reach, always one solved problem away, forever receding like a mirage in the desert of your striving. But here's where the prison reveals its most diabolical mechanism. We don't just tolerate this state of emergency, we sanctify it. We've been culturally conditioned to believe that this constant, low-grade fever of anxiety is the price of admission to responsible adulthood. We wear our worry like a badge of honor, a proof that we're taking life seriously. We secretly believe that our anxiety is a magical shield against disaster, that by mentally rehearsing every possible catastrophe, we're somehow preventing it from happening. This is the grand superstition of worry, the magical thinking that suffering in advance will pay the debt to the gods of misfortune. Alan Watts shatters this illusion with surgical precision. Worry isn't preparation, it's paralysis. It isn't responsibility, it's resistance. It isn't a shield, it's a self-created cage where you're both the prisoner and the warden. This constant mental chattering serves one primary psychological function. It keeps your consciousness so occupied with phantom futures that it never has to face the terrifying freedom and vast silence of the present moment. Because in that profound stillness, beneath all the problems you use to define yourself, lies the most frightening question of all. If I am not my worries, my problems, my constant striving, then who am I? To avoid facing this ground of being, the ego will gladly choose to run in circles forever, preferring the familiar hell of anxiety to the unknown heaven of presence. It will invent emergencies to maintain its sense of importance, create problems to solve to feel needed, and imagine futures to avoid fully inhabiting the now. The ultimate irony: this worry doesn't actually prepare you for real challenges. It only exhausts the mental and emotional resources you would need to handle actual problems when they arise. You're draining your battery by constantly checking if you have enough battery. The way out isn't through better worry management. It's through the radical realization that you've been fighting ghosts in a room where the doors were never locked. The prison was an illusion built from misplaced seriousness about a game you forgot you were playing.
We are born into a world that preaches a single, relentless gospel. To be safe, to be successful, to be worthy, you must be in control. Control your emotions, control your future, control your image, control your environment. We are taught that a well-lived life is a perfectly orchestrated performance, a checklist of achievements secured through sheer force of will and meticulous management. This mindset transforms existence into a constant, exhausting state of siege, a desperate defense against the chaotic, unpredictable tides of reality. You become the general of a never-ending war, marshaling your resources, fortifying your walls, and constantly scanning the horizon for the next threat. Your mind becomes a command center, buzzing with strategies, contingency plans, and worst-case scenarios. But this war is unwinnable. For every variable you account for, the universe presents 1,000 more.
For every problem you solve, a new one emerges from the shadows. This struggle for absolute control is not a path to peace. It is the very source of our deepest anxieties, a self-created hell of perpetual vigilance and inevitable failure. Alan Watts offers not a better strategy for this war, but a radical invitation to lay down your arms entirely. He proposes a fundamental and beautiful shift in consciousness, a move from the exhausting paradigm of control to the liberating state of wonder. This is not a passive resignation or a naive optimism. It is an active, profound, and deeply intelligent way of engaging with reality. It is the difference between being a frantic general trying to dictate the movements of the storm and becoming a humble, awestruck witness to its majestic, untamable power. Imagine standing on a cliffside, watching a thunderous storm roll in over the ocean. You do not shake your fist at the lightning or shout commands at the waves. You do not try to manage the weather. Instead, you simply observe. You feel the primal rumble of thunder in your chest. You marvel at the electric veins of lightning tearing through the sky. You allow yourself to be humbled by a force of nature so vastly powerful and magnificently indifferent to your plans. In that surrender to what is, you don't find weakness, you find a profound and unshakable peace. You are not defeated by the storm, you are liberated by your acceptance of it. This is the practice Watts prescribes for the human soul. Apply this same reverent attention to your internal world. When a storm of fear, anger, or sadness arises within you, do not immediately declare it an enemy to be suppressed or controlled. Do not launch into a familiar internal war. Instead, become a curious and compassionate scientist of your own experience. Shift from a narrative of, "I am afraid and I must make this stop," to the more open observational question of, so this is what fear feels like now. Where do I feel this sensation in my body? What is its texture? Is it sharp or dull? Is it hot or cold? Does it have a weight? Does it move? By asking these questions, you are not resisting the emotion, you are investigating it with a sense of awe. You are creating a critical space between the observer, the timeless awareness that you are, and the temporary weather pattern of emotion passing through. In that space, a miracle occurs. The emotion, deprived of the energy of your resistance and your fearful story, begins to transform. It loses its power to define you. It simply moves through you, a natural phenomenon arising and passing away within the vast sky of your consciousness. This is the ultimate shift, from trying to manage the content of your life to resting in the context of awareness that holds it all. You trade the crushing weight of control for the weightless freedom of wonder. And in doing so, you finally come home to the profound peace that has been waiting beneath your struggles all along.
To truly understand this shift from control to wonder, we need a new way of seeing our inner world, a new map for the terrain of our own being. For this, Alan Watts offers perhaps his most liberating and practical metaphor. Your emotions are not you, they are weather patterns in the vast open sky of your consciousness. Just as you are not the storm cloud that darkens the afternoon or the gust of wind that rattles the window, you are not the anger that flares, the sadness that descends, or the anxiety that tightens your chest. You are the sky itself, the silent, spacious, and unchanging awareness that holds all of it. A weather pattern is a natural, temporary, and impersonal event. It arises due to a confluence of conditions, temperature, pressure, humidity. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It moves, it changes, and it passes. It is not personal. The sky does not take offense at a thunderstorm. It does not try to argue with the hurricane or cling to a perfect sunny day. The sky allows all weather to move through it with a profound and equal acceptance. This is the exact relationship you are meant to have with your emotions. Fear is not a permanent stain on your soul. It is a cold front moving through. Joy is not your ultimate destination. It is a warm, gentle breeze. They are simply conditions that arise, stay for a while, and then dissolve back into the formless potential from which they came. The root of our suffering is that we have forgotten we are the sky. We have identified entirely with the weather. When a storm of grief appears, we cry, "I am sad," and we build a story around that identity, weaving a narrative of loss and tragedy that extends into the past and future, solidifying the temporary weather into a permanent state of being. When a blizzard of anxiety arrives, we don't just feel anxious, we become an anxious person, and we frantically try to manage the blizzard by thinking our way out of it, which is like trying to stop a snowstorm by blowing on it. This is the fundamental error, personalizing the impersonal. We treat these passing emotional events as if they are profound truths about who we are, and in doing so, we give them immense power over us. We tense up, we resist, we try to suppress the bad weather and cling to the good. But resistance is like building a dam against a river. It only creates a stagnant, pressurized pool of suffering. The energy of the emotion, blocked from its natural flow, gets stuck, festers, and manifests as chronic tension, illness, or explosive outbursts. The practice, then, is to reorient your identity from the weather to the sky. The next time a powerful emotion arises, instead of becoming it, try to simply observe it. This is the essence of mindfulness. Don't say, "I am angry." Say, "There is anger here." Feel it as a raw physical sensation without the story. Where is it located? Is it a hot, sharp knot in the stomach? A cold tension in the shoulders? What is its texture? Its temperature? Does it have a color? By investigating the emotion as a sensory phenomenon rather than a personal indictment, you perform a magical act of disentanglement. You create a space, a breathing room, between the observer, the sky, and the observed, the weather. In that space, you find your freedom. The emotion may still be intense, but it is no longer you. It is something you are experiencing. And because all experiences are temporary, you can now find the courage to let it be, to let it flow, and to let it go. You stop being a victim of your own internal climate and become a wise, compassionate witness to its ever-changing and always fascinating dance.
So what does it look like to live this out? To truly step into this awakened way of being? It does not mean that the play is over, that the curtains close, or that the challenges magically vanish from your stage. The music of existence continues to play, sometimes a gentle melody, sometimes a dissonant symphony, sometimes a frantic pounding rhythm that shakes your very foundation. Loss, heartbreak, fear, and frustration will still make their entrances. They haven't been edited out of the script. The profound difference is that you are no longer a puppet on those strings, jerked around by the conditioned reflexes of your past, reacting to every twist of the plot with blind panic or desperate clinging. You have stepped into a new role entirely. You have become the conscious dancer. This is the final, beautiful integration of Alan Watts's philosophy. A dancer does not fight the music. They do not hear a somber cello and declare the concert a failure. They do not resist a sudden change in tempo. A true dancer listens deeply, feels the music in their very bones, and moves with it. They express the joy through expansive, graceful leaps.
They express the sorrow through slow, grounded movements that honor its weight. They understand that to dance is to be in a dynamic, collaborative conversation with the music, not a war against it. This is your new relationship with life. You are the dancer, and your direct experience, the sensations in your body, the emotions in your heart, the circumstances of your day, is the music. You no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, you ask, "How shall I move with this?" You understand that the role you play, the successful executive, the struggling artist, the overwhelmed parent, the grieving friend, is just a role. It has costume, it has lines, it has a function in the story, but it is not the essence of who you are. Who you are is the awareness behind the role, the silent, spacious, and limitless consciousness that chose to put on this costume and forget itself for a while, all for the thrilling, poignant, and ultimately liberating experience of remembering. This is the ultimate hack to the game of life. You stop trying to win a game that was designed only for the purpose of play. Your purpose is not to arrive at a final, pain-free destination where the music stops. Your purpose is to wake up right now in the blinding mess and breathtaking beauty of it all, and to dance, to play your part with full awareness, boundless curiosity, and that metaphysical courage that looks directly into the eyes of life and says, "I am here. I feel all of it, and I choose to move with you." You feel the rain of sorrow, and you know you are not just the drop that gets lost in the puddle. You are the entire storm and the vast, silent, compassionate sky that holds it. The dance is not always easy, but it is always, always yours to choose. So what music will you dance to today?